So my name is Mark Channer, and today we are joined by Mark Wright, the former winner of Lord Sugar's series, The Apprentice. And Mark Wright is joining us today as part of the London Loves Business Meet the Entrepreneur series. Hi Mark, so tell us about your experience at The Apprentice.
Hi Mark, it's good to be with you. Thank you so much for inviting me on. Two Marks was always an interesting interview, so thank you. Thanks for the invitation. Well, when I tried out for The Apprentice, I think I didn't realize at the time just how life-changing that situation was going to be for my life. As you can tell from my accent, I'm from Australia. I hadn't seen the show. I didn't know who Lord Sugar was. I didn't know how big and fast and furious this program was in the UK. But in my year in 2014, when I went on, 75,000 people tried out for that series. I was one of 20 contestants. I then went on to win the show. It really did change my life. Ever since I walked into that boardroom on day one to today, my life has never been the same. And you can put that down to either the 250,000 pounds I won, being in business with Lord Sugar, and just the severe, immense PR that program has really been life-changing for me as an entrepreneur, but also for my companies that I now own and run.
So what's the one thing you've learned from Lord Sugar?
Well, let me tell you, there's a lot more than one thing that I've learned from him, but if I had to put it down to just one, it would be his work ethic. What I find in business, I think it's essential to have a mentor. If you want to be successful in business, you've got to have a mentor or a coach. I fundamentally believe that. And that's a lot of the reason why I went on to The Apprentice. But I now am lucky to coach and mentor people of my own and have other mentors outside of Lord Sugar. But from a good coach or mentor, what you learn isn't necessarily from what they say to you. It's from watching how they are. And I worked in the same office as Lord Sugar for the first 2 to 3 years of my company. What I picked up was from him is he'd been in business 50 years and his work ethic is insane. He starts at 6:30 every morning. He finishes late every day. If I send him an email right now, he'll respond in 5 minutes. He is on it. And I believe consistent hard work is the key to being a successful business person. It's that consistency over a long period of time. And Lord Sugar's shown that in his career. Now he's very wealthy and well known, but that wasn't always the case. He had to stay at it for a long time. And I think being tough and being consistent and working hard has really been the fundamental lessons. And I think everyone thinks when you get a billionaire mentor, they sprinkle some billionaire dust on you and it just rubs off. It's not the case. It's not the case, There's no secret answer here. It's all hard work, staying at it, being tough, not taking any bull. And he's done that consistently. And that's really what I've taken away from him.
So you've mentioned a few times the word tough, and what do you mean by the word tough? What advice would you give to entrepreneurs watching you right now?
Well, business is a pretty ruthless game. And I believe, the society in general is getting softer, whether we like to admit it or not, because it's getting easier and easier to survive by producing less and less. And Lord Sugar is a proponent of the old school. And I've never met a successful business person that isn't tough. And I think that, one of Lord Sugar's advisors told me in my first week of working for him, to be successful in business, you've got to have a thick rhinoceros skin. And I didn't know what he meant by that, but let me tell you, after 6 years of running my company, I now know what he means. People will sue you. They will try and steal from you. Employees come and go. Resilience is so important in business. And I didn't realize when I started my business just what happens behind the scenes. People trying to take your ideas, competitors coming after you. It happens, particularly if you're any good at what you do. And I think what I've noticed in Lord Sugar is that just exterior of toughness and being resilient. And that's something that I've really worked on in my own character, because as a young man, I wanted people to like me. I wanted to be friends with colleagues. I wanted to be friends with my customers or whatever it might be. But being a nice person and being tough in business need to be two separate things. And Lord Sugar was really serious about drilling that into me early on. And for any new business owners, I would say that, it's important to separate being nice and being tough and knowing when to execute the two.
So clearly you're still in touch with Lord Sugar. What sort of conversations do you have?
So he still owns 50% of my company. And we still have a 1 day a month board meeting, which is more, when we first started the company, it was wholly and solely about the business. You know, how is the business doing? How are we going to be successful? Now I've been with him coming up 7 years. It's just more of a mentoring session. It's a space for me in that time to really bring a problem of the day. My board meeting was last Tuesday, and we were talking about, how do you know who a great employee is? What does a good employee look like? How much do you pay a great employee? What is too much? What is too little? And they're more back and forward conversations as colleagues now, rather than, father and son mentoring type situation. But he gives tough love, to use that word again. He uses a bit of a carrot and a stick, where he tells me where all of the Apprentice winners are ranking in his portfolio of businesses and where I am. So he uses a leaderboard to motivate us. I currently am number 2. So that is like a red rag to a bull, because that motivates me to get to number 1.
Well, that's great. That's great stuff to hear. That really is great. So what does make a good employee?
What frustrates the both of us is there's companies coming along now, particularly in the tech space, that have encouraged this. I'm going to be careful with the word flexible working, but you come in, you don't really have a manager, you get 3 meals a day, you kind of sit on a beanbag and you can wear whatever clothes you want, and you do some work. Lord Sugar and I both agree that that is detrimental to everyone else, because we're getting people coming in, applying for jobs that have no experience. They want £50,000 salary out of the gate. They want to work 4 days a week. They want unlimited holidays. They don't work these days. And they start dictating the terms because they heard at this company, be it a Google or whatever, they have a chef making you a souffle at lunch or whatever it is. And the rules of where I believe having a good job, being paid a salary to earn money, is a privilege. That is a privilege to have a job and do good work for your customers. But young kids see it as a right. And we were discussing that because we both agree that we don't apply by those rules. You don't get a free lunch. You earn your lunch. All of that stuff. And I think that people that work for us may not always leave liking Lord Sugar and liking Mark Wright, but hopefully they've learned some stuff and they become out a better person. And that's really what it's all about. That's what I believe true mentoring is when someone leaves you, they reflect on it and they say, I may not have liked that, but I learned a hell of a lot.
You currently have a business with Lord Sugar called Climb Online. Can you tell us more about that, please, Mark?
Yeah, so Climb Online is the show, is the name of the business, and the business which I founded on the final episode of The Apprentice. So in the final episode, you have to create your business. I created Climb Online, and that's the business I've been in with Lord Sugar for now 6 years. We're one of a top 100 marketing company in the UK in financial terms. There's 35,000 marketing companies in the UK. We're in the top 100 in financial terms. We provide digital marketing services. So any company that needs more leads and sales, we can help them, whether that's through social media, Google ads, getting higher rankings on search engines. That's what we do. And it's what we do very well. We work with companies like TikTok, Hewlett-Packard, Groupon, CV Library, right down to your local dentist. So the scale of businesses we work with go from one person to hundreds of people. And that's really the joy of what we do.
So I understand, as an entrepreneur, you've got many other businesses, I understand. Can you tell us more about those? I think particular, Make More Noise.
Yeah. You've done your research. So what The Apprentice and, Climb Online's allowed me to do is make the money to invest in other businesses. I own one of the largest PR companies in Birmingham called Make More Noise. And I have a shampoo company called Luxurious Look. I have a property company called Wright on Property. What it's allowed, what I believe is when you've received tutelage like I have, from the mentors that I've had and the success that I have, I take it really serious in doing things like podcasts like this or mentoring other businesses so they can have the same opportunity. And it's really funny because when I mentor people like Hannah Hatfield at Make More Noise and work with her, she's making all the same mistakes that I was making 5 years ago. It's literally like looking back in a time machine. And I laugh about, sometimes in my board meetings with Lord Sugar, he laughs at the things I'm saying. And I think it's because he can see through his eyes, looking back 30 years, that's exactly what I was doing and saying, because experience really is the greatest teacher.
And what were some of those mistakes that you made that you can see that in other people in other businesses?
It comes back to trying to cut corners, doesn't it? Trying to cheat the system, whether that's hiring employees for 20,000 instead of hiring someone for 35. The old paying peanuts and getting monkeys analogy. You get what you pay for when it comes to employees. Financial systems, making sure you have a good CRM, making sure that you've got accounting software, you've got good bookkeeping procedures, all these things. When you're a young entrepreneur, you just kind of put it to the side because you just want to get on with doing whatever it is your business does. But there's fundamental things in a business that create success, whether that's your CRM system, your sales and marketing team, your accounting software, that all culminate into making your business eligible to scale. And, a lot of the stuff we speak about is really boring: debtors, creditors, all of this stuff. And I discounted just how important it was getting all those ducks in a row to scale my company up. And my mentees are the same now.
Given that we're in a pandemic, or hopefully coming out of it, has that affected any of the things you just mentioned?
Massively. I mean, the pandemic affected all my businesses. The scale just changed based on the industry. The shampoo company I own boomed because salons and barbers were closed and people needed a place to buy their hair care products. So that business was all online and it went crazy. The PR and marketing companies saw an immediate loss of trade from the hospitality and tourism industries. My biggest client was a cruise ship company. So stuff like that was affected immediately, but it's now returned. What the pandemic has done is show businesses just how important digital transformations are, being able to operate online, the power of digital advertising, but just, being able to meet like we are now on Zoom and Teams is just as effective as a good old-fashioned meeting. Okay, some will argue it's not, not the same, but it's pretty much near close enough. And I think once people got over that fact, we saw we could continue pretty much doing business as normal. And my businesses have bounced back and we're trading actually well and above where we were pre-pandemic. So it's been a lot of lessons learned. There's been a few sleepless nights, but I'd say we've learned a lot and are better businesses for the experience.
How did you actually grow the business with Hannah Hatfield?
Listen, any B2B service business has to be done the old-fashioned way, I believe, which is with a sales team. That's having LinkedIn, having conversations with people, picking up the telephone, that old-fashioned thing called the telephone, ringing someone and asking them if you can have a meeting to improve their business, and then showing them how you can do that through, sales and marketing tactics. And so we're old-fashioned. I believe that every business should have a sales force, no matter what business you're in. I believe that sales and marketing plugging into any business is your only way to scale it, unless, of course, you've got an e-commerce business. So we have a sales team. We reach out to companies. We show them what we've done for other companies. It's pretty simple. But the best way of getting business is by doing good work for the customers you've already got. If you get a customer, you do good work for them, they will spend more with you and they will refer other businesses to you. And our main source of income is through referrals, is through other people sending us companies. And anyone who works in a B2B space, whether that's a recruitment company, PR, marketing, whatever, don't forget about the customers you've got. Do good work for them and you'll be surprised how much new business comes your way. And that's kind of been my ethos throughout the whole process.
Okay, that's brilliant. What are the 3 things that you're looking forward to this year, 2021?
Seeing my family and friends in Australia. It's been a long time since I've been back to Australia. I wasn't expecting a international health crisis stopping me seeing my family for the last 2 years. That's been really challenging. Australia's always felt really close, be it how far away. I've always been able to jump onto a plane and be there in 24 hours, and that's not been possible. I'm really looking forward to seeing them again. Looking forward to having a holiday. It's been a couple of years since I've had a proper holiday and a break, and I think every entrepreneur, every business owner should embrace that work-life balance, which is having something to look forward to in the diary. And for me, it's my beach holidays, and I'm looking forward to that again. And we're looking to open an office in Australia and New York for my company, and that's really exciting for us as well.
Which company's that, please, Mark?
Climb Online. So we believe, so we've just jumped into the top 100 here in the UK, and we believe we'll get into the top 10 in terms of marketing agencies. And then we're going to run out of people to sell to. We're going to run out of market here. And if we want to expand the business, we want to take it to 100 million in turnover. And we believe the best way to do that is through international expansion. So we've earmarked growth in Sydney, in Australia, and in New York, in the United States.
And obviously Lord Sugar is at the helm of that, or
he's on board. He is on board because he's seeing that he's growing. It's up 200%. The coronavirus is just exacerbated the growth of the sector, particularly in social media businesses using things like Facebook and Instagram for advertising. And the world is our oyster because we're so established in the marketplace. So we're pushing international and potentially to put the company public. And
of course, I guess with Zoom, that's going to save tens of thousands per annum on travel, because it would be easier just to talk to your teams and have your daily briefings over
exactly
Zoom.
It already has. Even when we had a Manchester and Bristol office, we were spending sort of a couple of £100 a week on trains and tubes. All that money has been saved in the course of the pandemic. And we're seeing the trade is going up and our costs have gone down. And, that can only mean more profit for the business and the ability to spend money on expansion.
Yeah, I was about to ask. So that's one of the key driving areas to help organically expand the company.
100%. I mean, our cost base has pretty much stayed stagnant, and we've increased our overhead. It's giving us the money to either pay our current employees more or bring in new employees. So no one's really complaining.
So looking at, so you're going to expand to Sydney and New York. What's the pandemic like over there in Sydney and New York? Is it affecting businesses? Is it affecting growth?
In Australia, no. They pretty much have no pandemic. They think they have, but they have no idea what it's like to someone like here in the UK. They've had a very small lockdown for maybe 1 or 2 days. They don't wear masks. There's no social distancing, and all restrictions have been lifted. They've gone something like 100 days without a case of coronavirus, not a death, really a case. America's pretty much on par with the UK in terms of restrictions, in terms of severity. So we're looking at doing Australia first based on that situation. But listen, I get the feeling, and I'm touching wood right now, that we're at the end of the stretch here. The vaccine, in particular in the UK, is making good grounds, and we're seeing the numbers plummet, and it does feel like business is going back to normal. I could feel at the start. I said right at the very start in 2020, it felt weird. I felt businesses were slowing down. I think things were packing up. I could feel less energy in terms of people wanting to expand. And I'm feeling the opposite now. I feel like people are optimistic and that we're coming out of things like you said before.
Yeah, well, Mark, I'd like to wish you and Lord Sugar all the best with your expansions to the States and Australia. This brings us to a close of Meet the Entrepreneur series. And Mark Wright, thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having me.